amazing people of my constituency of Davenport. It is a riding in the heart of downtown West Toronto, and it's home to 120,000 residents. It is a community that I love deeply. It is vibrant, it is diverse, it is hardworking. It is home to Canada's largest Portuguese community. It is also home to artists and entrepreneurs, to newcomers and families whose roots stretch back generations. And it is from their kitchen tables, their small businesses, their community centres that I draw both my purpose and my perspective. Mr. Speaker, we are living through what our Prime Minister has rightly called a rupture. Not merely a transition, but a sharp change in a short period of time. The global order that has shaped our prosperity for decades is shifting beneath our feet. Trade relationships are being rewritten, alliances are being tested, and our citizens are feeling the pressure. As the Prime Minister said in a pre-budget address, if we don't act now, the pressures will only grow. Bill C-4 is one of the many ways that our government is acting. It is how we are responding to this moment, not with half measures, but with meaningful relief that puts money back in the pockets of Canadians who need it most. Mr. Speaker, I want to be direct about the reality Canadians are facing. According to Abacus data polling from just last week, 64% of Canadians now name the cost of living as their #1 concern, which is the highest level recorded this year in 2025. And 2/3 of Canadians worry about affording the basics in the next 6 months. As the Abacus CEO put it, cost of living continues to be the dominant lens through which Canadians evaluate politics and policy. We hear them, Mr. Speaker, and we are responding, not just via Bill C-4, but through the plan and the numerous measures that are found in Budget 2025. Let me tell you what these national numbers look like in the constituency of my riding of Davenport. The median household income is $85,000, close to the Toronto average, but 41% of our renter households spend more than 30% of their income on shelter. That is the definition of housing stress. More than 10% of our residents, or the residents in my riding, live in low income. Nearly half of my constituents rent their home, many in buildings constructed more than 60 years ago. Davenport is also profoundly shaped by immigration. 43% of my constituents were born outside of Canada. Another 30% are second-generation Canadians. They came here, as my family did, believing in the promise that hard work would lead to better life. That promise must continue to mean something. Bill C-4 delivers on that promise through the 3 concrete measures. First, we are cutting taxes for the middle class. The lowest federal income tax bracket will drop from 15% to 14%, 14.5% for 2025, and then 14% permanently. This will benefit nearly 22 million Canadians. For a 2-income family, that means up to $840 more in their pockets every single year. In my riding of Davenport, where 77% of our population is of working age, this is direct relief for the people who power our economy. Second, we are making home ownership possible again. The first-time home buyer's GST rebate will eliminate GST on new homes priced up to $1 million, and it will provide partial relief on homes that are priced up to $1.5 million. For a young couple in Davenport dreaming of their first home, this means savings of up to $50,000. In a city where housing has become a barrier to building a life, we are opening a door. Third, we are lowering everyday costs. By permanently removing the consumer carbon price, we are reducing what Canadians pay at the pump and to heat their homes. For the seniors in Davenport living on fixed incomes, for the small business owners watching every dollar, this is real, immediate relief that already started earlier this year, April 1st, and will continue to provide savings ongoing. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak to why these measures matter beyond the immediate dollars and cents, why strengthening our middle class is in fact a matter of national security. Just over a week ago, I had the privilege of attending the Halifax International Security Forum alongside defense ministers, parliamentarians, security experts, and others from around the world. The theme this year was dialogue, decency, and democracy. And the message that echoed through every session was clear: democracy has everything to do with international security. We heard that the foundations of democracy are showing cracks. We heard that democracies cannot meet external threats unless they are working internally. And we heard a truth that has been understood since Aristotle wrote his seminal book, I, Politics, more than 2,000 years ago. A strong middle class is the bedrock to stable democracy. This is not abstract political theory. The OECD has documented that thriving middle classes are the backbone of democratic societies and strong economies. Through their consumption, their investment in education and housing, their support for quality public services, their intolerance of corruption, and their trust in democratic institutions, the middle class provides the very foundations of inclusive growth. Aristotle himself observed that democracies are safer and more permanent when they have an abundant or numerous middle class with a greater share in government. When there is no middle class, he warned, trouble arises and the state soon comes to an end. Mr. Speaker, Canada has always understood this. We have always invested in our middle class, not as a luxury, but as a necessity. We have always ensured that those working hard to get ahead are given more than just hope. They are given opportunity. They are given a fair chance. Bill C-4 continues that proud tradition. And let me be clear, these three measures alone will not solve every challenge. Budget 2025 contains a comprehensive suite of investments in housing, in skills, in innovation, in defense that together move us forward. Bill C-3 is a critical piece of that plan. Direct, immediate relief that reaches Canadians where they need it most. It is how we ensure that Canadians have the resources to participate fully in our democracy and in our economy. Mr. Speaker, I am acutely aware that what we say in this chamber is recorded for history. Students will one day study this period, this moment of rupture and response, and they will ask whether we rose to meet the challenges of our time. And I believe Bill C-4 is one of the many parts of how we answer yes. In my community, I think of Adelina, someone who lives on my street, and she's a senior on fixed income. She lives in Little Portugal, and she's going to be seeing lower heating costs this winter. I think of Carlos and Anna, second-generation Canadians saving for their first home, who will now be able to afford the down payment they never thought possible. I think of the small business owner in Dundas West who will keep more of what she earns to invest in her shop and her employees. I think of the young family in Junction Triangle, newcomers who chose Canada because they believe in its promise and who deserve a government that delivers on that promise. Mr. Speaker, I will be supporting Bill C-4, and I encourage all members of this House to do the same. In my constituency of Davenport, we say, juntos somos más fuerte. Together, we are stronger. Let us be stronger together. Obrigada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Saskatoon, Saskatoon West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, the honourable member, for that speech. You know, this bill is going to reduce taxes for people. Yes, we've already heard it's probably like $20 a month, so it's not a really big deal. If this government was truly serious about saving money and saving taxpayers' money, I just wonder if the member would consider changing the federal interim health benefits that asylum seekers get when they are denied asylum in Canada, yet they stay trying to stay on appealing that decision. Benefits like vision care, benefits like urgent dental care and dental exams, dentures, nursing visits, emergency ambulance, and of course they get basic health coverage, which we would agree with. But these extra benefits that asylum seekers who've been told to leave the country get, this is a way that this government could save significant amount of money and pass those savings on to Canadian citizens. I'm wondering why they don't do that.
The honourable member for Davenport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the honourable member for his question. I want to also thank him for his great work on the Citizenship and Immigration Committee. You know, he had started off by saying that There's such minimal savings through our middle-class income tax cut. I completely disagree with this statement. For a two-income family, $840 more in their pockets every single year. As someone who grew up in a working-class family, Mr. Speaker, $840 extra a year would be a life change for us. It would mean a lot. It would actually buy us a lot more. And if there's ever a family that knows how to actually use their dollars and put it to use effectively, it would be a working-class family and a middle-class family in Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions et commentaires, l'honorable député de Mirabel.
Monsieur le Président, le premier ministre avait promis de rembourser la TPS sur les achats de premières maisons neuves au mois de mars. Lorsqu'il a été élu, on est revenu au Parlement et dans le projet de loi C4, dans sa version originale, il a finalement appliqué le remboursement de TPS à partir du mois de mai, faisant en sorte que des milliers d'acheteurs qui avaient cru le premier ministre n'auraient pas obtenu le remboursement de TPS. Or, le Bloc québécois a fait amender le projet de loi. Les libéraux se sont opposés aux amendements, les ont fait rejeter, on l'a plaidé devant vous. Finalement, grâce au Bloc québécois, des milliers de premiers acheteurs vont avoir le remboursement de TPS. Est-ce que la collègue peut me dire pourquoi le Parti libéral du Canada s'est opposé en comité et ici en Chambre devant vous à des remboursements de TPS pour des premiers achats de maisons neuves pour des milliers de Canadiens qui ont de la difficulté à accéder à la première propriété?
The honourable member for Davenport.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I just want to say that the first-time homebuyers GST rebate, that's actually Bill C4, I believe is going to help thousands of people who want to buy their first home, and I think that this will be a very effective tool. I'll also say to you, Mr. Speaker, that in Budget 2025, we've invested an additional $25 billion. We are determined to increase housing supply in this country, and we're trying to increase housing supply across the whole spectrum of housing. And I believe that with this period of time of heavy investment at all levels of government, soon home ownership or being able to live affordably in this country is going to be a possibility for every single Canadian. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Winnipeg North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Within Bill C4, there is tax breaks for over 22 million Canadians. It deals with the consumer carbon tax in terms of getting rid of it. And it also provides a tax exemption for first-time home builders, Mr. Speaker, all of which are wonderful measures dealing with issues like affordability. And I'm wondering if my colleague can provide her thoughts in regards to how important it is that we actually pass this legislation, and wouldn't it be a nice thing to actually have it pass before Christmas?
The honourable member for Davenport.
I want to thank the honourable member for his excellent question. So yes, I truly believe that the three measures contained in Bill C4 will be very beneficial to all Canadians. It is because it'll provide direct, immediate relief that will reach Canadians where they need it most. And I think that that will be an early Christmas gift that we can provide to all Canadians before Christmas, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much.
Questions et commentaires. Question and comments. The honourable member for Swift Current Grasslands, Kindersley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And in the member's speech, he talked about how a family could save up to $840 with their tax break. But at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, that a couple with one child or a couple with children making about $75,000 a year is only going to realize about $20 in savings with this tax cut. And in fact, a single parent making $50,000 is only going to realize about $140, $150 in savings with this tax cut. So I'm just wondering how the Liberals can actually square this. They're trying to sell it as this is a big, grand savings for people, but the reality is people who need it the most are receiving the least amount of benefit here. So I'm just wondering how she can sell this to her constituents.
The honourable member for Davenport has about 30 seconds.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the honourable member for his question. I will say it's not just that we're providing this tax cut, which I do believe is going to put more immediate funds into the pockets of all Canadians, 22 million Canadians. But I'd also say to you, Mr. Speaker, that over the last 10 years, we have introduced the Canada Child Benefit, national child care, the dental care plan. We've introduced a whole series of measures that are supporting our families, that are helping them to live affordable lives and to...
We will now move on to statements by members. Déclaration de député. The honourable member for Thunder Bay, Rainy River.
Today is World AIDS Day, a day to remember the 42 million people who've died, our neighbors, friends, and relatives. AIDS is an ongoing pandemic. It used to be a death sentence, but with the discovery of antiretrovirals, it's really changed everything, turning AIDS when treated into a chronic disease. Making these drugs affordable to millions of people worldwide has been one of the greatest scientific and humanitarian triumphs of all time. Yet today our progress faces a grave threat as major donors slash international assistance and HIV funding. The impact has been devastating. For example, in South Africa, treatment initiation has fallen 30%. These funding cuts could create a whole new wave of disease and tens of thousands of more deaths. This is why our government's recent $1 billion pledge to the Global Fund is so welcome. As many wealthy nations backtrack on their commitments, we need to unite globally to ensure decades of progress in fighting this terrible disease do not unravel. Thank you.
L'honorable député de Louis-Saint-Laurent, à Kewanrak.
Monsieur le Président, les Canadiens font face à une hausse sévère des prix des aliments et 2 millions de Canadiens fréquentent les banques alimentaires. Heureusement, Monsieur le Président, dans la circonscription de Louis-Saint-Laurent à Kewanrak, des centaines de personnes bénévoles s'activent pour aider les plus humbles d'entre nous. À Loretteville, à la maison de la famille de Saint-Ambroise, de même qu'à l'accueil Saint-Ambroise, on prépare la distribution des paniers de Noël. À l'ancienne Lorette, la Saint-Vincent-de-Paul et Rayons de Soleil assurent le service d'entraide alimentaire, tout comme d'ailleurs Solidarité Famille au Saule. À Val-Bélair, les Rotariens s'occupent du frigo partage Val-Boncoeur. Le Centre d'amitié autochtone de Québec et le service alimentaire de Wendake distribueront des paniers de nourriture sur tout le territoire de la nation. Et à tous les jours, Amélie Frédéric aide directement les familles de Neuchâtel et Le Bourgneuf. Sans oublier que tous ces organismes peuvent compter sur l'appui et le concours des Chevaliers, des Optimistes, des Rotariens et des Lions. Monsieur le Président, à l'approche du Noël, la générosité des Canadiens s'affirme dans toute sa beauté et dans toute sa splendeur.
The honourable member for Kitchener Centre.
Mr. Speaker, it's with a heavy heart that I share with you today the loss of one of my oldest friends, Belinda Cradden. On November 17th, her life was taken through an unimaginable act of violence by a person that she stepped in to help when our justice system had failed them. Belinda has an open, generous heart, and her compassion was her strength. Her murder is not only a personal heartbreak for me, but a reflection on the failures of our justice system. When people who pose a clear risk to society are not kept behind bars or provided the mental health and rehabilitation tools they need, this is the consequence. Belinda's death is a painful reminder that we must do better. I will always remember her beautiful soul and her light-up-the-room, bold, dynamic personality. Belinda, I love you. May you rest in peace, and may your memory tell us and inspire us to fight for a safe and more just world. Thank you.
L'honorable député de Madawaska-Restigouche.
Merci, M. le Président. Aujourd'hui, je rends hommage à Jean-Guy Lévesque, qui a récemment annoncé sa retraite après une décennie d'engagement en politique municipale. Figure bien connue au Restigouche, il a consacré sa vie au service public, d'abord dans le milieu scolaire comme enseignant, directeur d'école et directeur de district. Infatigable bénévole, il s'est démarqué au sein de plusieurs organisations communautaires et sportives. Récemment, il a dirigé le comité de mise en candidature qui a obtenu la tenue du prochain congrès mondial acadien en 2029 dans la région de la Baie-des-Chaleurs. Après son passage à la tête du DSL de Val-d'Amour, il a été élu conseiller municipal à Attolville en 2015, puis maire. En 2023, il est devenu le tout premier maire de la communauté régionale de Campbellton à la suite de la réforme de la gouvernance locale au Nouveau-Brunswick. Reconnu pour son esprit de collaboration, son sens de l'éthique et son humour rassembleur, Jean-Guy laisse une empreinte durable. Merci pour tes années de service public et sache que tu as laissé une empreinte durable dans le Restigouche.
The honourable member for Edmonton-Griesbach.
Mr. Speaker, let's play today in history. It's been 133 days since the Prime Minister said he'd have a trade deal with Donald Trump's USA. It was the PM's main campaign promise, but he broke it. It's now December, no deal in sight. Tariffs are higher. Softwood lumber tariffs exceed 45%, steel 25%, and 25% on some Canadian autos. It's now almost impossible to sell many crucial products to the U.S. Jobs are being lost. So the Prime Minister travels to the world to get trade deals with other countries, but he fails there too. Tariffs have now increased on Canadian products, shipping to the UK, India, China, and to other nations. The PM's racked up the air miles, but that's money for nothing. We don't need a globetrotter, we need a deal maker, but this Prime Minister is not that guy. Conservatives, though, will always fight for Canadian workers and jobs.
Honourable Member for Cumberland Colchester.
Mr. Speaker, leading into Remembrance Day, the town of Truro, Nova Scotia, renamed their outdoor athletic facility in honour of the No. 2 Construction Battalion, the only all-black Canadian unit in World War I. The men of the No. 2 showed up ready to enlist, and Canada said, "No thanks, this is a white man's war." When eventually allowed to serve, the No. 2 was the backbone of Canadian efforts, laying track for railroads and milling lumber, every board going to trenches, bridges, observation towers, walkways, and fence posts. These men built the infrastructure that won the war. First-class service from men treated as second-class citizens. The No. 2 Construction Battalion provides us with an example of national service and commitment to community we do well to remember today. Let us serve their memory by being of service to one another. Thank you.
Great job.
The Honourable Member for Lethbridge.
Mr. Speaker, it's always a good day to be of Brookfield when the Liberals are in power. This Prime Minister just committed $500 million to the European Space Agency, creating good-paying jobs in none other than Europe. Now, what's so significant about this? Well, this is it. Brookfield actually owns 50% of the Harwell campus where the agency is located. This is the same Brookfield that has avoided $6.5 billion in Canadian taxes through offshore havens. Meanwhile, 2.2 million Canadians line up at food banks each month. The unemployment rate is at 6.9%, and the Prime Minister has tabled the most expensive budget in history since COVID. I'm talking about a $78 billion deficit. But Conservatives have a solution to offer. It's this. 12 companies avoiding taxes, just like Brookfield does, would equal that $78 billion in deficit. So as the 12 days of Christmas approach, would the Prime Minister maybe do us a favor and commit that those 12 companies pay their fair share? And on the first day of Christmas, he can start with Brookfield.
L'honorable député de Mirabel.
Monsieur le Président, c'est avec une grande tristesse que je me lève aujourd'hui pour souligner le départ d'une grande dame de Sainte-Scolastique et de l'histoire du Québec, Mme Rita Léonard Lafont. Femme de conviction et de courage, elle aura consacré toute sa vie à défendre sa communauté au cœur de la saga des expropriations de Mirabel. En nourrissant par ses interventions les luttes citoyennes qui ont mené à la rétrocession de 85 000 acres de terre, elle aura été la voix et le visage des expropriés. Par sa ténacité, elle aura inspiré citoyens, élus et intellectuels à exiger des enquêtes sur le dossier de l'aéroport de Mirabel. Monsieur le Président, Mme Rita Léonard Lafont laisse derrière elle un héritage immense, celui d'une femme qui a refusé l'injustice et qui s'est tenue debout jusqu'à la fin, malgré un gouvernement fédéral qui, encore à ce jour, refuse de s'excuser officiellement aux expropriés de Mirabel. Monsieur le Président, une chose est sûre, de là-haut, sa droiture continuera longtemps d'inspirer mon engagement politique. À ses proches et à tous ceux qui l'ont connu, j'offre mes plus sincères condoléances. Merci pour tout, Madame Léonard Lafont.
The Honourable Member for Guelph.
In the time it takes to deliver this statement, another survivor of intimate partner violence will call for help. IPV is happening now, and 106 Ontario municipalities have declared it an epidemic, including Guelph, because it's pervasive and we must end it. During these 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, let's acknowledge our shared responsibility, work to change the norms that allow violence to persist, and ensure support for survivors. Thank you to everyone leading Guelph's 16 Days campaign, the CFUW, Guelph Public Library, the Guelph Resource Centre for Gender Diversity and Empowerment, Guelph Wellington Women in Crisis, the International Institute for Critical Studies and Improvisation, Out on the Shelf, Queer Night Out, the Student Wellness Center at the University of Guelph, Thrive HIV Prevention and Support, and Zonta Guelph. And thank you to all the frontline organizations that support survivors and work towards prevention every single day. Everyone deserves safety, justice, and dignity.
The Honourable Member for Dartmouth, Cole Harbour.
Mr. Speaker, tomorrow is Giving Tuesday, the day that follows Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but asks us to turn our attention to something entirely different. Instead of deals and discounts, Giving Tuesday encourages us to look around our communities and ask, how can I help today? It's a day built on simple gestures that mean a lot, supporting a local charity, checking in on a neighbor, giving a ride, sharing a meal, or stepping up for someone who could use a hand. In Dartmouth, Cole Harbour, and in communities across this great country, we see this spirit every day, especially from nonprofits, charities, and the incredible volunteers who keep them going. Giving Tuesday is a moment to shine a little extra light on their work and join in ourselves. Let's take tomorrow and lift people up in big and small ways. Generosity is contagious, and I hope we all catch it.
The Honourable Member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, the annual hunger report from Feed Ontario came out today, and it shows just how hard life in Canada has become. For the 9th year in a row, food bank use has increased. More than 1 million Ontarians visited a food bank 8.7 million times in the last year, the highest level ever recorded. These are not conspiracies, these are facts. The more the Liberals spend, the more Canadians go hungry. With this Prime Minister who thinks like a banker, these human struggles are treated as numbers on a balance sheet, not as people. It doesn't matter how hard you work in the Liberals' cost of living crisis, as 23% of food bank users were employed and nearly 1/3 were children. As we head into the cold winter months, food banks are warning they're at a breaking point. Some fear they'll run out of food within 6 months. The Liberals boast about their school food program, yet there is nothing to celebrate when kids grow hungry. This isn't the Hunger Games, but under this so-called new government, the capital feasts while the districts fight to survive. Families can't live on Liberal talking points and paper promises.
The Honourable Member for Markham-Smithville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We recently lost a great Canadian. I first knew Alan Wells when we worked together at the Regional Municipality of York. A chartered accountant by profession, he served there with dedication for 27 years, including as Commissioner of Social Services and finally as Chief Administrative Officer and my boss. After his retirement, our paths crossed again when I was the Provincial Member of Parliament appointed to serve on the Rouge Park Alliance, of which he was chair. Under his leadership, along with our colleague, the member for Wellington Halton Hills, we were able finally to establish the Rouge National Urban Park. A dedicated environmentalist, Blue Jays fan, fishing enthusiast, former Uxbridge Town Councillor, engaged supporter of the Oak Ridges Moraine Land Trust, and so much more. His contributions will benefit our communities for generations to come. My sincere condolences to Alan's family, friends, and all those who had the privilege of working alongside him. We'll be missing those twinkling eyes, Alan. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Flamborough, Glanbrook, Brant North.
Mr. Speaker, last year alone, 1 million Ontarians needed a food bank, and that totaled 8.7 million visits, according to today's Feed Ontario Hunger Report, which of course is the highest number ever recorded.
That's right.
Of those visitors, 1 in 3 were children, 1 in 3 were people with disabilities, and 1 in 4 were working Ontarians who still couldn't make enough to make ends meet.
Absolutely.
Ontario saw twice as many seniors turning to food banks compared to 5 years ago. And 3 in 5 of those visitors were social assistance recipients who simply can't keep up with the cost of living. This isn't normal. This isn't sustainable. And after a decade of Liberal spending and broken promises, Canadians can't afford to live. So how many more warning signs will this government ignore while families, workers, seniors are being pushed to the breaking point?
Honorable député de Trois-Rivières.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Aujourd'hui, je tiens à souligner l'implication exceptionnelle des femmes et des hommes de la réserve des forces canadiennes de Trois-Rivières. Les membres du NCSM, Radisson et du 12e Régiment blindé du Canada incarnent chaque jour le professionnalisme et le dévouement qui définissent nos forces armées. qu'il s'agisse d'intervenir ici, chez nous, lors de missions d'appui à la population, comme les inondations, ou en appui aux efforts contre la COVID, ou encore de servir partout dans le monde, comme pour la mission Réassurance en appui à l'OTAN. Ils répondent toujours présents. Leur capacité à se mobiliser rapidement, à protéger, à soutenir et représenter le Canada avec honneur mérite d'être soulignée. Je tiens à remercier ces militaires dont la majorité ont une vie professionnelle remplie en dehors de leurs engagements auprès des forces canadiennes. Ils dévouent des heures en soirée, pendant les week-ends pour s'entraîner, suivre des formations, être prêts à déployer lorsque nous avons besoin d'eux. Merci pour votre engagement, votre courage et votre volonté de servir tant au sein de notre région que pour notre pays. Nous sommes fiers de vous.
The honourable member for Swift Current Grasslands, Kindersley.
Earlier this year, the Prime Minister left his position at Brookfield Asset Management as head of ESG and Impact Fund Investing. He claims to have put all of his assets in a blind trust and disclosed his investments with the Ethics Commissioner. With a conflict of interest screen in place, everyone's supposed to just trust the process after the head of Canada's government left working with a company known for using tax havens in the Caribbean. It also means he must recuse himself from policy discussions involving multinational investment firms. How's that going to happen consistently while running a G7 country? Last week, a senior Brookfield executive admitted to the Ethics Committee that the Prime Minister wouldn't have to worry about managing so many conflicts of interest if he just sold his assets instead of putting them in a blind trust. It was also confirmed that 95% of Brookfield's companies are not included in his screen. By the way, the same Brookfield executive had a meeting with the Prime Minister in October after he already met with the Brookfield CEO back in May. Are Canadians really supposed to believe the blind trust is hidden from them? What more do we need to see that this government is starting yet another round of Liberal corruption?
The honourable member for Don Valley West.
Mr. Speaker, it's a privilege today to rise to celebrate a great Canadian, a great leader, and a good friend. For 10 years, Julia Hannigsberg has served as CEO at Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital in Don Valley West. Holland Bloorview has become an incredible centre of excellence with a reputation in Canada and abroad. Holland Bloorview recently received the highest possible rating from Accreditation Canada, an exemplary standing recognizing its commitment to excellence in all parts of healthcare delivery. This is just one of the marks of Julia's incredible leadership. She's combined her passion for children with disabilities, her work ethic, and her magnetic personality to make Holland Bloorview a place of innovative treatments of the highest level of respect for children and their families as it promotes social justice and inclusion for children and youth with disabilities. Holland Bloorview is a family. It continues to do great work. It will be missing Julia. Her legacy will continue.
Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable leader of the opposition.
Monsieur le Président, les Canadiens devraient pouvoir manger à leur faim, mais un rapport de l'Observatoire des inégalités aujourd'hui révèle que l'insécurité alimentaire a augmenté de 82 % au Québec et les recours aux banques alimentaires de 116 %. Le double de nombre de travailleurs sont dans l'insécurité alimentaire, ça fait 20 %. 1,7 million Québécois ne peuvent pas manger à leur faim. Pourquoi ce gouvernement force-t-il, ce gouvernement libéral, force-t-il les Québécois à payer plus pour impôts, pour taxes et pour l'inflation afin de nourrir la bureaucratie au lieu de nourrir leurs familles?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Youth and Children and Youth.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. C'est sûr qu'aucun parent devrait avoir la difficulté à nourrir ses enfants. Mais de ce côté, on a investi sur plusieurs fois dans l'alimentation scolaire, dans l'approbation pour les enfants, dans une coupure sur les impôts pour les familles pour 22 millions de Canadiens. On investit dans les maisons abordables, qui est très important pour combattre la pauvreté. De ce côté de la Chambre, on est là pour les familles. De l'autre côté, ils votent contre à chaque fois toutes ces mesures-là. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
On vote contre les mesures qui nourrissent la bureaucratie au lieu de nourrir les enfants et les familles, Monsieur le Président. Depuis la création de leur programme pour nourrir des enfants, le nombre de jeunes enfants qui ont besoin d'aller aux banques alimentaires a doublé et 90% des enfants ne reçoivent rien de ce programme, même si on croit des chiffres de ce gouvernement. Chaque fois que le gouvernement dépense plus, ça coûte plus cher en inflation alimentaire aux gens, en plus des taxes sur la nourriture. Pourquoi force-t-il les Canadiens de payer plus pour la bureaucratie au lieu de payer pour leur nourriture?
L'honorable leader du gouvernement de la Chambre.
Monsieur le Président, ma collègue vient de parler du programme de nutrition scolaire. On peut parler de la prestation canadienne aux enfants. On peut parler des prestations automatiques. Aucune bureaucratie dans aucun de ces programmes. Mais ça aide directement aux mamans et aux papas qui sont dans l'insécurité alimentaire, qui, oui, est trop commun dans notre société. Monsieur le Président, pourquoi ce chef et ce parti s'acharnent à voter contre les mesures qui viennent en aide aux gens qui souffrent de l'insécurité alimentaire?
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, today Algoma announced it's laying off 1,000 steel workers, nearly a third of its workforce in the Sioux. Our thoughts are with them. The Prime Minister looked them in the eye and promised he would protect their jobs, that he would negotiate a win, and I quote, have a deal by July 21st, but it was a bait and switch that is costing people their livelihoods. On top of that, Liberals are hammering the steel mill with a higher industrial carbon tax. Isn't it bad enough that the Prime Minister broke his promise on trade? Why is he going ahead with an industrial carbon tax that will kill even more steel jobs?
Honorable Ministre de l'Industrie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Obviously, our thoughts are with the workers affected by the unjustified and unjustifiable tariffs imposed by the White House, and we'll continue to work with them as Algoma Steel is going through a difficult situation, to say the least. Mr. Speaker, my team and I have been in contact with Algoma's leadership team. We absolutely have every confidence in the Algoma workers as they're going through this hardship, and we will make sure that we support them as they're developing new products and also accessing new markets. We'll fight for these jobs, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, more promises and more Liberal thoughts will not put food on the table of those out-of-work steelworkers. And they're not alone. The Liberal food cost crisis is growing, according to today's Feed Ontario report, which reveals that food bank use is up 13% in 1 year and 165% since this Prime Minister became the economic advisor to this Liberal government. 8.7 million Ontario visits in 1 year to the Ontario Food Bank, while this Prime Minister hikes carbon taxes on food production. Why is he driving more people into hunger with higher taxes?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Every step of the way, these Conservatives fight against the supports that Canadian families talk about needing. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, they just asked a question about workers that are facing job losses at Algoma Steel. And yet, Mr. Speaker, when they had a chance to vote for expansion of EI, for easier access, longer duration, and more generous benefits, they voted against it, Mr. Speaker. So how do they in any way have the right to stand up and talk about the needs of Canadians when they stand in the way of the supports that those very Canadians need?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The supports that those Canadians want and need is a paycheck, Mr. Speaker.
Exactly.
And they want to be able to afford food. They should be able. In a country with this much farmland and this much wealth, our people should be able to eat. But according to the latest report by Feed Ontario, there's been a 165% increase in food bank use in Ontario alone since this Prime Minister joined this government, yet he wants to go ahead with an industrial carbon tax on farm equipment, food processors, and fertilizer that will drive up the cost of food. Why does he get fat on his tax havens while he taxes people?
Mr. Speaker, it's amazing to hear the Leader of the Opposition, because the first thing we did is to make sure that Canadians would have more money in their pocket pocket, Mr. Speaker. We, in fact, reduced taxes for Canadians, 22 million Canadians. But you know what, Mr. Speaker? What's most disturbing for Canadians watching at home? At every step of the way, where we were there for families, where we were there for workers, where we were there for Canadians, they stand in the way, Mr. Speaker. That's the leader who voted against Canadian. On this side of the House, we believe in Canada. We're going to grow this country. We're going to work for families. We're going to protect the worker. We're going to build Canada, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Prime Minister didn't just break his promises on food, also on housing. He said he'd double home building. But today, a report out from the Missing Middle shows that housing starts are down 34% across 34 Ontario municipalities. Condo starts down 51%. Yet the Prime Minister goes ahead with a Liberal industrial carbon tax on the steel, aluminum, glass, and other inputs required to build homes. It is a tax on homes, all while he hides his millions of dollars in a Bermuda tax haven. Why does he hide his money abroad while taxing homes here in Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the Leader of the Opposition and Conservatives actually cared about affordable housing, they would have voted for the budget with $13 billion for affordable housing. Mr. Speaker, they could have voted for $1 billion to fight homelessness and build supportive housing. These Conservatives stalled the first-time homebuyers GST break since June. They have no credibility on affordable housing, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable député de Saint-Jean.
Monsieur le Président, l'entente pétrolière entre les libéraux et l'Alberta, c'est une trahison climatique. Le Canada quitte le combat mondial pour l'environnement. C'est ça que le député libéral de Laurier-Sainte-Marie est venu confirmer hier à Tout le monde en parle, et je le cite. Si on est honnête avec les Canadiens et les Canadiennes, on ne peut plus atteindre nos objectifs de 2030 avec les annonces qu'il y a eu récemment. C'est pas possible. Monsieur le Président, est-ce que les libéraux vont avoir la même honnêteté que le député et confirmer aux citoyens qu'ils n'ont pas l'intention de les atteindre?
Honorable leader du gouvernement à la Chambre.
Monsieur le Président, l'entente conclue la semaine, le mémoire conclu la semaine dernière est une avancée majeure pour les changements climatiques et pour l'environnement au Canada. On parle de capture de carbone, on parle d'interconnexion d'énergie renouvelable à travers l'Ouest canadien, on parle d'énergie nucléaire et on parle d'un processus clair et des conditions claires imposées à la province de l'Alberta. Monsieur le Président, c'est une avancée majeure pour notre environnement. Les règles sont claires et l'Alberta est maintenant engagé à mettre de l'avant son plan environnemental. Merci.
Le député de Saint-Jean.
J'ai mal pour eux à les voir marcher de même sur leurs valeurs. Monsieur le Président, l'entente pétrolière avec l'Alberta, ça positionne le Canada comme l'une des pires nuisances au monde en matière d'environnement pour les décennies à venir. Ça confirme que les libéraux ont vendu tous leurs principes aux mêmes pétrolières qui sont les actionnaires majoritaires du Parti conservateur. Monsieur le Président, c'est pas étonnant finalement qu'il y ait des transfuges des conservateurs chez les libéraux. C'est les mêmes politiques. La vraie question, c'est pourquoi il n'y a pas plus de libéraux qui imitent le député de Laurier-Sainte-Marie et qui démissionnent.
L'honorable leader du gouvernement à la Chambre.
Monsieur le Président, le Bloc québécois, sais-tu ce qu'ils ne disent pas en Colombie-Britannique? On a besoin du Bloc québécois pour nous défendre. En Colombie-Britannique, on a un chemin clair. On crée des emplois, on crée des opportunités. On fait en sorte qu'en Colombie-Britannique, on collabore avec les Premières Nations. On crée des énergies renouvelables. On crée des réseaux d'électricité. Monsieur le Président, la Colombie-Britannique est le grand gagnant pour ce qui est de la création d'opportunités, des emplois et des projets majeurs au Canada. On a été élus pour bâtir le Canada. C'est ce que nous faisons.
Le député de Jonquière.
Pétrole renouvelable, Monsieur le Président. Monsieur le Président, les Québécois n'ont pas voté pour une trahison climatique. Ils sont même plusieurs à avoir voté libéral par peur des conservateurs. Aujourd'hui, les libéraux les trahissent avec une entente pétrolière conservatrice avec l'Alberta. Les Québécois ont fait élire 44 députés libéraux et ils sont trahis. L'Alberta en a fait élire 2 et elle se fait exaucer ses rêves pétroliers les plus fous. Donc, on va poser la question, Monsieur le Président. Ça sert à quoi d'élire des députés au Québec qui ne défendent pas l'intérêt des Québécois?
Le ministre de l'Industrie.
Monsieur le Président, nous, les 44 députés du Québec, nous sommes très fiers de défendre ce gouvernement et de faire en sorte de défendre les intérêts des Québécois. Parce que lors de la dernière élection, ce que les Québécois nous ont dit, c'est qu'ils voulaient qu'on puisse les protéger par rapport à ce qui se passait aux États-Unis. Et étant donné le contexte géopolitique qui change, et étant donné que les États-Unis ont pris également des décisions qui sont les leurs par rapport à leur politique énergétique, nous devons être capables d'être souverains nous-mêmes. Et c'est pourquoi nous avons pris cette décision de faire une entente si importante avec l'Alberta.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
Once upon a time in Canada, you could work hard, earn a decent living, and build a better life. In a decade of Liberal policy, that bargain has been blown to pieces. A CTV report this weekend showed that even families earning $200 grand are being driven out of Toronto because they can't afford a basement rental, a home, or anything else. Last year, 35,000 households fled the GTA, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. Is Move Somewhere Cheaper the new official government slogan of these Liberals for Canadians who can't afford to stay in their homes?
Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, well, it's hypocrisy to hear this from the Conservatives. All of a sudden, they're concerned about affordable housing. Building starts are up across Canada this year versus last year. If you look at year to year, we're moving up. We are investing $13 billion in Build Canada homes. That's focused on non-market housing and market housing that leverages it. Mr. Speaker, we're getting no support from the Conservatives to scale up affordable housing at an unprecedented rate, and we expect that if they're going to speak out here about it.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
Speaker, it is clear we would never support any of the policies that doubled home prices over the last decade. But families aren't just leaving Toronto because it's expensive. They're leaving because it's dangerous. We have needles in parks and crack pipes on the subway, and everybody is just supposed to pretend that all of this is normal. Does the government understand that public safety failures and the cost of housing, the cost of food, the cost of everything else are pushing Canadians out of their own communities after 10 years of their Liberal failures?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, it'd be really nice if these Conservatives would read the reports that they quote in the House of Commons. Food Banks Ontario talks about the importance of increasing base rates for social assistance, making sure that people living in poverty have sufficient social supports, Mr. Speaker, investing in income supports for Canadians like we have done through the Canada Disability Support payment, Mr. Speaker. The kinds of recommendations coming out of these reports fly in the face of the individualism that we hear over on the other side, Mr. Speaker. What Canadians know is that sometimes people face hard times, and when they do, they want their country to be there for them.
Honorable député de Mégantic-L'Érable-Lotbinière.
Monsieur le Président, pendant que le premier ministre protège ses profits personnels aux Bermudes sans payer d'impôts, il force la classe moyenne canadienne à payer des taxes cachées sur chaque commande d'épicerie. L'Observatoire québécois des inégalités révèle que 20 des travailleurs souffrent d'insécurité alimentaire. C'est un chiffre qui a doublé en 4 ans. Imaginez, même avec un emploi, on n'arrive plus à payer la nourriture et le loyer. Pourquoi ce premier ministre est-il si fier de creuser un déficit record, d'imposer des dépenses historiques qui rendent la vie encore plus chère aux Canadiens et encore plus difficile de se nourrir?
L'honorable secrétaire d'État pour l'enfance et la jeunesse.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Encore une fois, je souligne qu'aucun parent ne devrait avoir la difficulté à nourrir ses enfants. J'étais en Nouvelle-Écosse ce week-end. J'ai eu la chance de rencontrer des mères, des femmes qui sont occupées dans les garderies, qui prennent soin de nos enfants. Et elles n'ont pas pu me dire à tel point l'impact de nos investissements ont sur leur famille, à baisser les frais de la garderie, à aider avec l'allocation famille pour la taxe qui baisse. Je m'excuse. En tout cas, elles sont très contentes avec ces investissements que les membres d'en face votent à chaque fois contre. Merci.
Honorable député de Mégantic-L'Érable-Lotbinière.
Je vais en donner un impact, moi, de 10 années de gouvernance libérale. Moins manger pour pouvoir se loger. C'est le choix que font des milliers de Québécois. L'Observatoire révèle aussi aujourd'hui que l'insécurité alimentaire a presque doublé en 4 ans sous ce gouvernement libéral. Un locataire sur 3 est touché. L'insécurité sévère a bondi de 63 en 3 ans. Ça veut dire repas sauté, perte de poids, privation extrême. Et pendant ce temps, le premier ministre, lui, demande aux jeunes de faire des sacrifices. Combien de jeunes, ce premier ministre, ministre va-t-il sacrifier pour continuer d'enrichir Brookfield sur le dos des Canadiens, Monsieur le Président?
Le ministre des Finances.
Président, c'est un enjeu sérieux et ce que mon collègue oublie de mentionner, c'est que la première chose qu'on a fait dans ce gouvernement-là, c'était de réduire l'impôt pour les Canadiens, Monsieur le Président. 22 millions de Canadiens et Canadiennes paient moins d'impôts maintenant, Monsieur le Président. Et la deuxième mesure pour laquelle les conservateurs ont voté contre, c'est important que les gens à la télé le regardent quand ces conservateurs-là posent des questions. Ils ont voté contre les mesures pour bâtir du logement, Monsieur le Président. Le logement abordable, c'est à la base de l'abordabilité, Monsieur le Président. S'ils étaient sérieux, s'ils étaient si concernés, Monsieur le Président, chacune d'entre eux se lèverait, Monsieur le Président, pour appuyer le budget de 2025.
The honourable member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Tyandanaga.
At a time when families are under unprecedented financial pressures, Canadians expect their government to put them first. Right. While this Prime Minister travels abroad, meeting with dictators and autocrats, Canadians here at home are struggling to make ends meet. In parts of Ontario, food bank visits have increased by over 250%. This budget was an opportunity for the government to lower the cost of living by eliminating the industrial carbon tax. Instead, they callously increased it. Why?
Yeah, you tell us.
The Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, these Conservatives voted against lowering the cost of living when they voted against Budget 2025 because they voted against food in schools for children. They voted against a tax cut for middle-income Canadians.
What else?
They voted against $75 million in apprenticeship training and against a refundable tax credit for personal support workers.
Oh my God.
They also voted against $45 million in funding to address gender-based violence.
Wow.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians and seniors want to know who these Conservatives are fighting for, because it certainly isn't them.
The honourable member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Tyandanaga.
Instead of disingenuous replies to very serious questions, Canadians deserve answers. Let me share the state of Ontario, of food banks in Ontario. 2 in 3 food banks are concerned about sustaining their operations over the next 6 months. 1 in 2 worry they will not have enough food to meet the needs in their community. And directly from the Hunger Report, quote, over the past 5 years, the proportion of first-time food bank visitors have increased. The trend is unsurprising as overall food bank use has nearly doubled. Mr. Speaker, can the Prime Minister explain why he's driving up grocery costs?
Yeah.
While he's refusing.
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, these Conservatives voted against lowering the cost of living for seniors when they voted against Budget 2025. They voted against old age security. They voted against the Guaranteed Income Supplement. They voted against the New Horizons for Seniors program. They voted against anti-fraud measures that protect seniors from scams. They voted against a tax credit for personal support workers that support seniors who need care. They voted against dental care for over 6 million Canadians that are currently taking advantage of that. Canadians want to know, Mr. Speaker, who these Conservatives are fighting for, because it clearly isn't them.
The honourable member for King Vaughan.
Mr. Speaker, food bank usage is at a dangerously high level. With over 1 million people using the food bank in Ontario, this past year usage has skyrocketed 165%. Parents take pride in providing for their families. However, the cost of living crisis, 29% of food bank users are children. Wow. When will this Liberal government stop playing games with their Brookfield buddies and stop the industrial carbon tax so Canadians can afford to feed their families?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
Mr. Speaker, Feed Ontario and Food Banks Canada do important work on the front lines, but they also make important recommendations for government, Mr. Speaker. And what are some of those recommendations? They recommended that Budget 2025 include automatic benefits, the Canada Disability Benefit, which was brought back by our government, National School Food Program, which was made permanent by our government, which the Conservatives recently called garbage. Mr. Speaker, they called on the government to make sure that we are building more affordable housing, and Build Canada Homes does just that. Mr. Speaker, how do the Conservatives sleep at night? Just exploiting the challenges that Canadians are facing for their own political gain without following one suggestion.
L'honorable député de Repentigny.
Monsieur le Président, l'entente pétrolière Canada-Alberta, c'est une trahison climatique. Le Canada abandonne ses cibles de réduction de gaz à effet de serre. Il abandonne toutes ses politiques environnementales des 10 dernières années. Il abandonne la biodiversité en révoquant le moratoire sur les navires pétroliers et il abandonne même la protection des terres autochtones. À ce rythme-là, Monsieur le Président, est-ce qu'il va rester quelque chose dans le mandat de la ministre de l'Environnement où elle va juste rubber stamper l'entente pétrolière du premier ministre?
L'honorable secrétaire d'État à la nature.
Je ne suis pas sûre, Monsieur le Président, qu'on peut parler de trahison. Notre gouvernement est en train de trouver une nouvelle stratégie pour atteindre des objectifs importants. Mon premier ministre, moi, les 44 députés qui représentent le Québec, les valeurs environnementales, on les a, on les partage et on va devoir expliquer mieux, mais on va faire des stratégies pour atteindre nos objectifs. Il faut qu'on soit capable d'y arriver et dans cette entente-là, il y a des outils importants pour pouvoir y arriver. Et en plus de ça, l'Alberta va être avec nous et va nous aider à contribuer. C'est une avancée.
Honorable député de Repentigny.
Monsieur le Président, encore une fois, les libéraux, ils ont honte. Ils parlent de tout, sauf de leur pipeline de pétrole sale des sables bitumineux. Ils ont honte d'avouer qu'ils luttent plus contre les changements climatiques et qu'ils abandonnent leur cible de réduction de gaz à effet de serre. Ils ont honte d'avouer qu'ils vont même accélérer les changements climatiques en produisant 1,4 million de barils de pétrole sale de plus par jour. Monsieur le Président, comment les ministres peuvent-ils accepter ça? Ils ont honte d'en parler. Ils devraient se coucher en dessous de leur bureau.
L'honorable leader du gouvernement à la Chambre.
Monsieur le Président, lorsque le Bloc dit des choses qui ne sont pas véridiques, le déchirage de chemise que personne ne comprend. Écoutez, on a un plan climatique conclu avec l'Alberta pour allonger les énergies renouvelables à travers l'Ouest canadien, se concentrer sur l'énergie nucléaire et mettre des conditions très, très précises pour le développement énergétique conventionnel. En même temps, on travaille avec le Québec et les autres provinces pour poursuivre nos avancées qui vont faire du Canada un chef de file en énergie renouvelable à travers le monde, Monsieur le Président.
Le député de Richemont-Arthabasca.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Les guignolés, les soupers d'entreprises, d'organismes avec des demandes d'apporter des denrées alimentaires, barrages routiers pour ramasser de l'argent pour nos organismes d'aide alimentaire sont bel et bien commencés. Par chance, car les demandes augmentent de façon importante. On a quasiment doublé le taux d'insécurité alimentaire au Québec. Le constat est dur. On est passé de 11 en 2019 à 20 en 2023 sous le gouvernement libéral. Les gens ont un travail, ils n'arrivent pas à se nourrir. Pourquoi le premier ministre maintient la taxe sur le carburant pour rendre l'épicerie encore plus chère?
L'honorable secrétaire d'État pour l'enfance et la jeunesse.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Notre budget aide les Canadiens à aller devant. Dans le rapport, on a cité qu'il faut améliorer l'accès aux mesures de soutien. C'est ce que nous faisons avec la déclaration de revenus automatique qui va aider plus de 5 millions de Canadiens à avoir ce qui leur est dû. Cela signifie qu'ils peuvent avoir accès à des soutiens comme l'allocation canadienne pour enfants qui donne jusqu'à 8 000 $ sans impôt par enfant. On est là pour les familles canadiennes. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Le député de Richemont-Arthabasca.
Monsieur le Président, tout respect, j'invite la collègue à aller dans les banques alimentaires présentement, voir les gens qui attendent en file. La situation est préoccupante, ça ne fonctionne plus. 600 000 Québécois visitent les banques alimentaires chaque mois. Par chance qu'on a des organismes et des gens de cœur, comme les clandestins et plusieurs autres qui s'impliquent dans ma communauté. Mais moi, ce que je veux voir, c'est un gouvernement libéral qui va prendre ses responsabilités. Comment peut-il choisir d'enlever des taxes sur les bateaux de luxe alors que notre monde a de la difficulté à se nourrir? Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres députés libéraux, comme celui de Laurier-Sainte-Marie, qui vont dire « c'est la goutte de trop ».
Monsieur le Président, tout comme le député, moi aussi, je me présente dans les guignolés, dans les soupers, et oui, aux banques alimentaires en cette saison festive, et on fait en sorte de faire preuve de la même solidarité dont ont toujours fait preuve les Québécois et les Canadiens. Mais ce que les gens, dans ces événements-là, me disent et me demandent, c'est pourquoi les conservateurs votent contre toujours l'aide alimentaire dans les écoles, la prestation canadienne pour enfants, les baisses d'impôts, l'assurance et les soins dentaires et l'assurance médicaments, pourquoi les conservateurs votent-ils contre les supports et les aides, les appuis pour les gens vulnérables?
The honourable member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
Food banks across Vancouver Island are overwhelmed, Mr. Speaker. We're seeing a surge in seniors, young families, newcomers, and increasingly full-time workers who cannot afford the price of food. These are people who played by the rules, who worked hard, and who never imagined they would need a food bank just to get through the week. Instead of helping, the Prime Minister is increasing the industrial carbon tax, driving up the cost of transporting and producing food, and making groceries even more expensive. Why is the Prime Minister insisting on hiking the industrial carbon tax when British Columbians can't afford to feed their families?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, we are supporting seniors and individuals across Vancouver Island to ensure that they have an affordable life. For example, I met with the Mustard Seed in my riding of Esquimalt Saanich-Sooke, where they are running several food programs to ensure food security. This includes a food program called Flourish for children that ensures that they are fed, and this takes advantage of the National School Food Program. They're also ensuring that they can run their programs with the Canada Summer Jobs Program. These are initiatives that are so key to ensuring that people are fed well on Vancouver Island, initiatives that the Conservatives voted against.
The honourable member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
I asked a question, Mr. Speaker, and I got a deflection. People in my community can speak to the impact of the industrial carbon tax because, unlike the Prime Minister, they do go to the grocery store. And it's not just my local food bank, Mr. Speaker. The Saanich Food Bank, in that member's riding, says they've also been seeing more young families, seniors, and newcomers. Family Services of Greater Vancouver is also seeing more full-time workers. Right now, everyone is in need. So I ask again, will the Prime Minister commit to eliminate the industrial carbon tax?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, you know what Canadians and Vancouver Islanders need to ensure an affordable life? They need money in their jeans. They need things like the old age security. They need things like the guaranteed income supplement. They need things like the child tax benefit. These things put money in folks' jeans. These are initiatives that the Conservatives voted against time and time again.
Very good.
Honourable member for Mission Mascouy Abbotsford.
Mr. Speaker, the Family Services of Greater Vancouver reports record demand for Christmas food hampers and food banks in general. They outline that working full-time families, even those in higher income tax brackets, can't afford the basics. For 9 straight months, grocery prices across Canada have risen faster than inflation. Yet this government keeps piling on costs, driving food prices even higher while Canadians struggle to meet their basic needs. Why is the Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax on things like cold storage and fertilizer, making food even more expensive for struggling Canadian families?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, here we go again with the imaginary taxes. In fact, the food professor himself said one of the hardest things to predict is the effect of climate change on the cost of food. They don't use that quote when they're, misleading Canadians with inaccurate information. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we know what helps families. It's actually money in your pocket. So when the Canada Child Benefit is indexed to inflation, when the OES and GIS are there for seniors, when we have dental care and pharmacare and affordable early learning and child care, Mr. Speaker, these things are reducing the cost for families and putting money in the pockets of Canadians. That's how you help.
The honourable member for Winnipeg South.
Mr. Speaker, in the last election, we committed to build Canada strong, to make Canada an energy superpower, grow the strongest economy in the G7, and strengthen industrial carbon pricing. Last week's Memorandum of Understanding between Canada and Alberta provides a framework to advance those goals. Can the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources explain how Alberta and Canada will work together with Indigenous rights holders in British Columbia to get projects built, create good jobs, and diversify our exports beyond the United States?
Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, last week I invited the Conservatives to come to Calgary. You know what they would have seen, Mr. Speaker? Not one, but 2 standing ovations from a sold-out crowd in Calgary. Why? because this MOU is about getting results for Canadians. That means more certainty for investment, unprecedented collaboration with Alberta, and a clear path to move energy infrastructure projects forward. This will get done while increasing durability of industrial carbon pricing and requiring consultation with British Columbia and respecting the rights of Indigenous peoples. Mr. Speaker, that's how we build Canada strong.
The honourable member for Calgary East.
Leave it in the ground, Liberals outed themselves, admitting their fake announcement last week isn't a pipeline approval. The eco-radical Liberal member from Victoria admitted there's no route, there's no project, there's no proponent, which means no pipeline. Who needs pipeline opponents when you have Liberal caucus members like that? The Prime Minister is fueling confusion to divide Canadians, all while talking out of both sides of his mouth. To the Prime Minister, when will shovels be in the ground? Just a year.
Yeah!
Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I guess the member opposite didn't listen to his premier, because his premier said it was a great day for Alberta. If the Conservatives are serious about getting things built, they should clarify whether they support this Made in Canada agreement or whether they will keep opposing cooperation, undermining investment, scrapping policies that will help Canada compete in a lower carbon world.
Member for Calgary East.
The difference is Conservatives will build pipelines while the Liberals build pipe dreams. That answer is as fake as when the Prime Minister says he's working on the best interests of Canadians and not Brookfield. Entropy is a carbon capture company getting massive Canadian handouts. Their biggest investor is Brookfield. This Prime Minister is more worried about making big bucks for his Brookfield buddies and building pipe dreams. Starving Canadians want to know, how much are the Prime Minister and his Brookfield buddies getting bankrolled by Canadians instead of getting a pipeline built?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Speaker, here they go again with conspiracy theories. Perhaps they could get on board with getting things built, with stop undermining investment certainty, and stop trying to scrap policies that will get us to be an energy superpower in a low-carbon world.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Northwest.
Last week, the Liberal Minister for Natural Resources blatantly disrespected Indigenous groups by rudely offering pipeline consultations over Zoom. Not only is this insulting, but consultations with Indigenous groups should have started 8 months ago in person when the Liberals promised to move at a scale and speed not seen in generations. Canadians support pipelines. Many Indigenous groups do as well. So my question is, was last week's announcement just another Liberal photo op underpinned by reconciliatory rhetoric?
Yeah!
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Speaker, I addressed those comments last week. I apologize for those comments. This MOU lays out clearly how we will work with Indigenous peoples to get things built in Canada.
Good answer. Good answer.
Member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley.
LNG Canada and Chevron's KLNG project got efficient approvals mainly due to pre-consultations, which this Liberal government hasn't done. Instead, this Liberal government proposed to do consultations over Zoom, over video calls, to deal with constitutionally protected rights and title. Now the Liberals say it's up to Alberta to get consent, which is wrong. This is Canada's responsibility.
Hear, hear.
When will the Liberals deal with constitutionally protected rights and title longer because it's too late to deal with pre-consultations?
The Honourable Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All major projects require the duty to consult and, if appropriate, accommodation. The projects, as they move forward, require that consultation, and that is what we will do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for North Island, Powell River.
Canada used to be a country that built things, that got things done, that built the Canadian Pacific Railway through the Rockies and across the Canadian Shield. Today, we are governed by Liberals that spend more time building fake backdrops for press conferences than on nation-building projects to secure our sovereignty from the United States. A new pipeline to the Pacific was already approved 11 years ago, and the Liberals killed it. McDonald didn't promise one day to maybe review a proposal and hope a railway got built. He promised a route to the Pacific, and he delivered. Will this government do the same, yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, this summer we signed a historic agreement to forge a new, ambitious and comprehensive partnership with European countries. Today, the Prime Minister announced the conclusion of negotiations for Canada's participation in SAFE, This will unlock billions and billions of dollars in defence opportunities for our Canadian businesses. It'll give our defence industry expanded access to the European market, new reliable supplies for the Canadian Armed Forces, catalyze massive private investment in Canada. Mr. Speaker, we can compete and we can win. We're the only non-European country able to participate. We're building Canada strong.
Honourable member for Bow River.
Mr. Speaker, last week Liberal members scrambled to explain that their so-called MOU with Alberta was not the approval of a pipeline, but is just more consultations. And the BC Liberal caucus rushed to distance themselves from this entirely. The same agreement includes a massive increase in the industrial carbon tax, a hike that will raise the cost of everything for families and businesses already struggling under this government. At committee today, the minister admitted that Alberta's exemption for the clean electricity regulations will take place way down the road. So, Mr. Speaker, when these Liberals say that they can move at a scale and speed not seen in generations, do they mean building projects or just raising taxes?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, Canada's in a trade war, and it's about time we all recognize that. Our agreement with Alberta is a wartime-like Team Canada plan to strengthen our hand and put Canada in a winning position.
Anyway, I'd like to continue with the answer, but we need a little more silence. I think we're good now. The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
I will continue. This MOU is about growing exports beyond a single customer while driving down emissions with strong industrial carbon pricing and a commitment to decarbonization projects. Our goal is to create investment certainty, reduce regulatory overlap, and ensure meaningful consultation with provinces and Indigenous communities.
Member for Oxford.
Mr. Speaker, termination letters are starting to roll out for CAMI workers out in Ingersoll just weeks before Christmas. One of the workers said it's a punch right to the gut. But on October 23rd, the Minister of Industry said, and I quote, "I expect a full update within 15 days from GM." Well, her self-imposed deadline has come and gone. There is no plan. There is no action. There is no update. Our workers can't keep feeding themselves off of empty Liberal promises. So after breaking her own promises, why should our auto workers believe a word she says?
Mr. Speaker, I beg to differ. You know why? Because the workers don't agree with my colleague's statement. The unionized workers are completely behind the government's plan to push back against any form of movement at Ingersoll, because we believe that GM can act along with the government and along with Unifor to bring back a new model. Meanwhile, I've had several meetings. I even went to Ingersoll. I met with Unifor, and Mr. Speaker will continue to fight for these jobs.
The Honourable Member for Elgin St. Thomas.
When GM shut down the CAMI plant and laid off 1,200 workers, the industry minister claimed she was on it. She said she was demanding a full update from GM within 15 days and that she would offer transparency to Canadians. That was 39 days ago. No clarity, no plan, no relief for auto workers in Elgin, St. Thomas, and London, who this Liberal government told they would have their backs. When the Prime Minister was asked about standing up for Canadian jobs, he said, "Who cares?" My question is to the Industry Minister. Does she?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, we are all very much aware that the auto workers are affected by the unjustifiable and unjustified American tariffs. And that is why we've been supporting all of them, working with Unifor, working with Lana Pine, who's on speed dial, and to whom which I speak pretty much every day. That being said, we'll continue to fight against Stellantis to make sure that they bring back their operation at Brampton. We'll make sure that we work with GM at the CAMI plant in Ingersoll, because we think that there's a path towards a good news story.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton West.
Apparently nobody in this government bothered to read the Stellantis contract before to see if Canadian jobs would be protected before giving Stellantis billions of dollars in taxpayers' money. The Minister of Industry did not read it. The Deputy Minister for Industry and the past Deputy Minister of Industry did not read it. Finance Canada lawyers did not read it. They all pointed their fingers at the former Industry Minister, who is, of course, the Finance Minister now. So before giving billions in taxpayers' dollars for a project whose jobs are now fleeing to the U.S., did the Finance Minister read the contracts?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, not only did the entire team read it, but you know what we read? We read what the Harper government did in 2009 when they bailed out GM and Chrysler at the time. And you know what we saw? We saw that there was no job protection in that deal. And so you know what we'll do now? We'll make sure that we fight for these jobs. We will make sure that we'll put maximum pressure, and they should stop just whining. They should just get on board and make sure we put
L'honorable député de Vaudreuil.
Mr. Speaker, we know that artificial intelligence may be central to the economy of the future. Everything from healthcare to transportation has the potential to be revolutionized by AI. Canadians want to be confident that Canada is staying at the cutting edge of AI innovations. Can a Minister of Artificial Intelligence tell the House how our government is supporting Canada's AI ecosystem and ensuring that Canadian researchers and companies continue to lead globally?
Honourable Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation.
I want to thank my colleague for the good question, for his leadership in his community of Vaudreuil. Canadian pioneers like Jeffrey Hinton and Joshua Bengio helped invent modern AI right here in Canada. And our three world-leading institutes, Mila in Montreal, Amy in Edmonton, and Vector in Toronto, are success stories. Mr. Speaker, we just invested more, $42.5 million in new compute for researchers all over the country. As the head of our digital research said, we're ensuring innovators have the tools they can to compete globally while keeping our data sovereign. We're building here in Canada.
Member for Newmarket Aurora.
A resident pleaded with me. My family and I are struggling with the rent costs and the price of food, and they're not alone. A CTV News article tells us that 35,000 families are fleeing the GTA because staying in the GTA means living on edge financially with very little room to grow. Families are being uprooted, generations torn apart. Canadians are forced to leave the very communities that they grew up in. Increasing the industrial carbon tax increases the cost of cement, steel, and all the materials that go into building homes. Why is this Liberal government increasing the industrial carbon tax and making housing even more expensive?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the good news is that the price of housing is actually coming down. We're seeing from the Parliamentary Budget Officer's report in October, average rents are down across Canada, average price of housing is down, mortgage rates are down, housing starts are up. Mr. Speaker, this side of the House is doing something about housing affordability. That side of the House is voting against it.
For Newmarket Aurora.
All we hear from these Liberals are empty promises. For the last decade, they've been promising the same things. They know these ideas don't work, and the record speaks the truth. In the GTA, housing starts have plunged 34%, not increase. In just 9 months, condo starts are down 51%. And the slowdown in the construction industry means 35,000 lost years of employment for Canadians. Instead of building homes, the Liberals are piling on more bureaucracy and increasing the industrial carbon tax. Why can they stop raising punishing taxes, driving away our jobs and investment while Canadians cannot afford a home or food?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, this side of the House has proposed a budget that has unprecedented investment in affordable housing. The Conservative side of the House has an opportunity to support $13 billion investment in affordable housing, Mr. Speaker. Conservatives have dragged the first-time home buyers tax break on GST since June. That was an opportunity to save first-time home buyers money. Mr. Speaker, we're giving them opportunities to support our investment in affordability and affordable housing across Canada. Thank you.
For York Centre.
Over 35,000 families fled the GTA last year because they can't afford a home. CTV followed a Toronto woman who couldn't buy a house with a $200,000 income. The Liberals pretend that the impact of the industrial carbon tax on new house is imaginary, but clearly industrial carbon tax increases the cost of cement, the cost of steel, and the cost of all materials that go into new homes. Last month, only 25 new condos were sold in Toronto, in a city of 3 million. When families are fleeing the GTA, why do the Liberals make housing even more expensive by increasing the industrial carbon tax? Why?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
The Northern Ontario mayors who are here this week talking about their incredible work to attract people to Northern Ontario. These mayors are actually investing in the very things that create affordable housing, using the housing accelerator, working with infrastructure, working with the province of Ontario, making sure that as critical mineral projects boom in our region, we have the housing to accommodate those workers. Mr. Speaker, good things are coming for Northern Ontario.
Honorable député de Compton-Stanstead.
Mr. Speaker, last week, despite obstruction and stalling from the Conservative, we successfully referred Bill C-12 back to the House. This legislation is critical to securing our borders, strengthening our immigration system, and keeping Canadians safe. Can the Minister of Public Safety tell Canadians why this legislation is essential to ensuring their safety and protection?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for Compton-Stanstead for her incredible work in the SECU Committee, and I want to thank the members of the SECU Committee for making sure that Bill C-12 passes report stage of committee. Bill C-12 will give law enforcement the tools to keep our borders secure, combat organized crimes, auto theft, extortion, money laundering, and the trafficking of illegal weapons and drugs, Mr. Speaker. The bill will enhance the integrity of our immigration system by creating robust screening standards as well as ensuring fair and transparent enforcement. Keeping Canada strong means keeping Canadians secure, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de Côte-du-Sud, Rivière-du-Loup, Kataskomig-Témiscouata.
Monsieur le Président, ce mois de décembre s'annonce comme le mois le plus difficile depuis des décennies. Chez nous, la directrice de Moisson Kamouraska m'a dit que les demandes explosent littéralement. Partout au Québec, on parle de 3,1 millions de demandes en 2025.
There were 3.1 million food bank visits in 2025, 37% more than in 2022. The demand for Christmas hampers will be unprecedented. With the price of food going up, eating is now practically a luxury. And yet the Liberals are still hanging on to their fuel tax, which is making food prices go even higher. Mr. Speaker, why is the Prime Minister refusing to help families in my riding who are struggling to put food on the table? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a great deal of respect for my colleague. As he knows, and as we all know, regular people in Quebec want to have a good job. Currently, a great many tariffs are being brought in by the American administration. During this difficult time, we will be there to protect our businesses that give people good jobs in Quebec. I will continue to work with him over this holiday period so that people can get good jobs and to help us have a strong safety net in Quebec and throughout Canada. We believe in that.
Neil Burney.
Mr. Speaker, in 2021, the Zim Kingston lost over 100 shipping containers. In 2016, the Hanjin Seattle spilled dozens, and now a barge off Bella Bella has nearly gone down with a full load. Each time, First Nations and local communities are left to respond and face lasting impacts. The Transportation Safety Board says Canada still has no system for cargo unit or marine debris spills. When will this government act on these recommendations and create a coordinated response system that includes coastal communities backed by an ecosystem service fee on cargo units so industry can help protect our coasts?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
I want to thank my honourable colleague for that question. It's an important issue indeed, and we want to make sure that marine safety, indeed the safety of all vessels, their seaworthiness, the safety and security of those who are aboard them, and indeed the environment for those who must deal with those transgressors must all be dealt with. I'm very glad to have the honourable members' cooperation and interest in this file, and I can assure them that we'll continue to be working on it as we work on the security of our supply chains and the sustainability of our marine transportation.
Well, thank you, colleagues. That puts an end to question period. Je désire informer la Chambre.
I would like to inform the House that the volume of earpieces will now be reset.
We'll take a minute
to
allow colleagues to leave the chamber.
Alors, nous allons poursuivre.
We will now continue with our deliberations today. We'll start with